Welcome to Stories Within, a podcast where we dive deep into the life journeys of inspiring individuals who have overcome challenges, discovered their passions, and are making a positive impact in the world. Today, I'm honored because we are joined by Shalini Tyagarajan, a renowned leader, wellness expert, and a passionate advocate for women's empowerment and holistic well being. With over 20 years of corporate leadership and a background in technology, Shalini has built a remarkable career that spans innovation, team leadership, and personal growth. But what makes her story truly unique is her journey as an immigrant who came to US with a dream and has built a life of purpose, impact, and fulfillment. Through her company, Mindspace, Shalini empowers individuals to connect with their inner compass and cultivate a strong mind and body connection. She's also a devoted mother, a philanthropist, and a community leader who has made a lasting impact through her nonprofit work and commitment to uplifting others. We will be diving deep into Shalini's inspiring story, exploring her experiences, insights, and advice on how to live a life of purpose, balance, and fulfillment. Thank you so much for joining. I'm really honored to have you here with us. Then I heard your story, and then when you shared a bio of yourself, like it was truly inspiring. I'm sure many women look up to you. I look up to you. I think we've been known each other for quite few years now, and I've always seen you as a role model. So let's start from where it all started. Let's go back to your childhood, and also if you can share things about your childhood. And I'm sure it was not an easy task to convince your parents and coming to US. So can we go back and then see who Shalini was, and then how did she come to US, and what was the initial challenges, and what made you come here?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know that's a long story. I'm going to try and condense the version because if I go back, just go back to my childhood, right? So I was born in Malaysia, but I moved to India. So I grew up in Bangalore. So I did my schooling, was in Bangalore till I was 16. That's where I did my elementary, middle, and part of my high school. And, what Shalini, when I just now, as you're talking, and I'm thinking about that elementary and that young girl, Shalini, was very different. Because I feel like now when you think about where I've come in this journey and, just being bold, being resilient, I mean, having this confidence. When I think about that, childhood Shalini, I don't think I was anywhere close. I was one of those, quiet people in the class. I mean, I had a very limited set of friends. I don't think I really had that confidence or even that belief in myself that wow, I can actually achieve or do something. And otherwise, I had a very normal childhood like most people. I had two brothers growing up in Bangalore, and I used to play cricket with them on the streets. I did all of those, fun things anyone growing up in India can relate to. I think a lot of these memories we all can relate to, as kids from the 80s, I would say, for many of them who are in that generation. And so I think I had a very simple amazing childhood, and I had a lot of family because my dad, had 13 siblings, so it was a pretty big family, a lot of cousins. So we always had gifts at home. So it was a very lively, I would say, socially enriching life. Growing up as a kid in India in Bangalore. And then when I was 16, we moved to Dubai. Again, my dad moved for work, so we all moved there. That was a little different experience, although I went to an Indian school, so it was still the same syllabus, everything when I moved to Dubai. But it was an Indian school, so of course everybody was pretty much Indian in the school as well, and we followed the similar syllabus. And I mean that again was a change in friends and building that community. It was all a little different. And in Dubai, it was also schooling system where it would be only girls. So there was a time where the girls would exit the school and then the boys come in like something in the afternoon. So that was a system in Dubai is very different because I was always in a co-ed school. I mean, growing up in Bangalore, right? So this was definitely a big change. But anyway, from an academics, from all of that, I think it was a great experience in Dubai. I was in the commerce division in Dubai. I did the Indian syllabus. So I did really well in school, but I was also very academic, I would say, more studious kind of a kid, right? And so, networking, getting out there, speaking, all of those, like the other confidence, related skills didn't really come naturally, right? Like I said, I was pretty introverted in that sense, although, making friends and all of that was easy. But from everything else, it's still very much within my own shell, if you will. So that's what I did in Dubai, and that was a time, when I was in high school, and I saw a lot of my cousins, applying for colleges to come to the US, and again, it wasn't very common to do that. And second, we come from a middle class family, so it was not like, and I have two brothers. So, of course, my parents have to think about everybody's education and the expenses and all of it too, right? And again, as a daughter, right, I come from a pretty traditional conservative Indian family. So sending a daughter off to the US at a young age was not a very easy decision or even a choice. So I started my undergraduate degree actually in Dubai. So I did my undergraduate degree for about a year and a half. And that's when I was trying to convince my dad that I wanted to go to the US. So first thing my dad said, okay, your older brother is going to apply for his visa. So my older brother was coming for his master's. He did his undergraduate degree in India. He was coming here for his master's. So my dad said, all right, if he goes, applies for his visa and he gets his visa, then you can go for your interview. And you will not believe it. I was honestly praying to all the gods that he would actually get his visa so that I get this opportunity to actually, come to the US. And I honestly didn't know what I was signing up for, but all I knew, Hasti, was I just wanted to explore an independence. I wanted to just have that freedom to do something, that I've never done. Right. And I think a big inspiration was also my mother because, those days she actually got educated and she had a degree in English literature, which was pretty rare because those days a lot of women didn't, quite go to college as well. I mean, some of them did, but not many people completed, right, college. So she did all of that. But unfortunately, she was at home just, having to raise kids and do that. And we had, like I said, a big joint family. So she didn't really have an opportunity to work, right, to be independent financially and a lot of other things which comes with just the Indian culture and the society, right? So she was a big inspiration because she wanted me to actually go do things she did not have an opportunity to do. So she actually helped convince my dad. And she said, no, I mean, she's studying well, she's doing all of this. So you should, give her the opportunity to go, study and do this in the US. Anyway, so long story short, then my brother got his visa. I was super excited. Went, I got my visa. And it was funny, before I came to the US, my dad actually asked me to promise him. That one of the promises was that I would still agree to marry somebody he would choose. Right? I mean, it sounds silly now because I didn't even know what I was doing at that time when I was 19. And I just agreed. I said, oh my gosh, this is my chance. I'm going to get to go and explore something and I'll abide by all the rules. Anyway, so all of that happened. I landed here in the US. Very different because I didn't really have any family in Michigan. So I landed in Michigan. And for one of the coldest places, winters were harsh. There was a lot of snow. And luckily, when I came here, I had a couple of Indian friends in college, and I had one of them who is a Gujarati girl. Her parents lived there. So that was a big relief because, at least couple of weekends, I would get some, Indian food because obviously I felt homesick. I mean, it was tough. And vegetarian food, again, when you think about this, this was over 25 years ago. Yes, you can do the math. But, vegetarian food was hard. So it was tough, just to try and learn how to cook something, survive, and do all of the grocery and manage all of it. It was tough. Right. So I'm not going to complain. But you know what? There was one goal that drove me all the time. The only thing I played in my head was I came here for a purpose. I came here to, prove to my parents that I can actually, find all the opportunities, land a job, be financially independent, and really figure out my life. So that was really one thing that just kept my purpose and my goal, right? Every time I kind of felt lonely, each time I kind of, fell in that, I would say, a little abyss or like that deep, dark hole, I would really just, think about the purpose and goal. And each time that helped me get through this, right? And so That's how I basically finished my undergrad degree. And then as I was doing that, I knew that I wanted to do my master's because I mean, just selfishly, because I felt otherwise my dad would really tell me to just get married, have to go settle. So, I said, no, I want to do my master's. So I want to study more. And so that gives me a little more window of time, right? Just to figure out my own independence and what I wanted to do. And so I applied for my master's and then I did my master's. And I think that was the time. Again, my father was like, all right, you're obviously growing up, etc. Although only like barely 21, but he had already started this journey of horoscopes, which I know, and I tell a lot of people about arranged marriages, especially the non-Indian community. Everybody wants to know what my story was and like how I agreed and what happened. I mean, everybody's so excited to just listen to the story, right? But anyway, I don't think there was anything so dramatic. I think for most of the Indian community, we all know how it works. I mean, my dad basically just sent me a bunch of horoscopes, like look at, all of these profiles and then talk to them, do all of this, phone matchmaking, if you will. So I did all of that. And long story short, I'm married to Hari, and he was already in Seattle. He came here to do his master's in the US as well. And he was already here in Microsoft. He was working in Seattle. And so we met again, we spoke a few times. So we got married. Then I moved to Seattle. And yeah, I mean, oh boy, that's really how my career started, was in Seattle. And but that's kind of the journey, I would say, from my childhood all the way through Seattle.
I thoroughly enjoyed it because I didn't know any of this. So this was, I think I could relate to it. I think many of us can relate to it. Like immigrants, like growing up in India, it's a typical, most of us are very conservative. So letting go of a girl child at 19 years to US is no joke. It's all, I think now we can also understand parents' perspective. It was all for our own good.
I can relate to that only because now when
Mm.
I went to drop off my daughter, I mean she's 19, well, 19 and a half, but when I went to drop her off in college, although she's gone to the East Coast, oh my gosh, I actually felt something, I mean, thought about that exact moment when I was, wanting to come here and my dad asked me about all of those things. It's so funny. It's like a full, they say a cycle repeats, right? Because I told my daughter the same thing. I had to give her some of the same advice. I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, am I actually just reliving those moments that, I used to joke about it when my dad did that to me, but now I feel like, wow, I did the same to my daughter. So it's just really
Mm.
come full circle.
Yes, it definitely is. I completely agree because we don't understand it then, but then now thinking back, we're like, okay, maybe they were right. Maybe they had something in them. But what really caught my eye is that in this entire your childhood and coming to Seattle and all that is that you rightly said because you had a purpose or something was driving you from within. Like, I want to achieve more than proving to your parents. You want to prove to yourself, like, I can do something. Shalini can do something, right? So that was driving you. I think that's a very key point that I think all of us should take, right? Because we are far away from our home, or you might be in India, or you might be very close to your home, or not close to your home. All that apart, something there is a purpose that should keep driving you, so that you can keep moving forward. If not, you'll get stuck in a place like thinking about what's happening today and all that. It's actually nice to look forward to something and keep keep us going. So I really love that from your entire journey. And I love the narration of your childhood because I could go relive. Okay, yeah, I used to play cricket and I like all that, right? It's a very cute and nice memories that we can live. So now you had your master's and you got married and then you came to Seattle. And is that where your career started? Because I knew you wanted to be financially independent. So how did that start?
So I would say it partly started when I was doing my master's because I was working. I did like an internship in between. So I could earn enough money to buy my own car. Of course, I had like a secondhand car. And it was just something I needed just to commute because my internship was about 30 minutes away from where I lived. And, I really didn't want to ask my father for, any financial help. I wanted to just figure this out myself. And even for my master's, luckily I had an assistantship. So that paid for, my rent and some of my expenses as well. But yeah, so I think my journey from just a working perspective had kind of started when I was doing my master's. But I would say truly full time was after I came to Seattle. And the first company I started, it was a super small, it was like a startup. But there were literally like what, four of us, okay, Hasti, in that company or in that office space, if you will. And it was interesting because I just applied online, right? And I just spoke to this person. He interviewed me and he said, "Hey, I would love for you to just come." And then literally, just gave me the job. And I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll just start somewhere." And I wanted to just, at least get some experience. And, so yeah, that's how my journey really started. And I did everything in that company, starting from customer support to like demos of the product, right? And to sales to, I don't know. So I did that whole gamut, I think, of everything, which was great because that gave me a lot of exposure just to kind of corporate and, learning a lot of different skills, right? I think the most important pivotal thing, though, in this experience working even for that small company, right? I was only there, I think, for about 2 years. Yeah, about 2 years or less than that, actually. Was the biggest surprise was getting my H-1B sponsored. And again, you know how this whole visa thing works. And I'm assuming a lot of probably people in the audience, would be immigrants or people going through this whole process. So, at that point, that was a big deal, right? Because obviously needed that to, stay here. And again, nobody would imagine, right? It was such a small company. My boss was completely supportive. I got my H1 sponsored, and that was a big deal because those days, I mean, well, now it's getting even harder, but those days it was also a big deal to even get that. And then I worked for another company for about a year, actually, in Seattle. It was in Seattle downtown. And I did that again. I was commuting using the bus, all of that stuff, right? But then I think it got a little hectic because I got pregnant, and then I decided I wanted to obviously switch, to something that's closer to home. And that's when I basically joined Microsoft, but I joined as a contractor. So I did that for about 6 months, I think, or less than that. And then there was a full time opportunity that came up in a completely different organization, though. And, I would say actually, Hari's, my husband, right, was very pivotal in, I would say, again, pushing me because one of the things, right, like I said, the childhood Shalini, right, that I would say continued a bit, even through my master's, even, although there were different struggles coming here to a new country and figuring out all of that. But I would say that confidence or, speaking up for myself or, just feeling good about, yes, I can do anything, right? And that growth mindset, all of that, I would say was really not, just there at that time. So I would say I was still a little more in my own shell. Yes, I did all of it from an academic perspective and all of it, right? The interview, all of that worked, but somehow I don't think I was as open, as vocal, as confident, as bold about things, right? And so I would say Hari, critical part of my whole journey here because he was the one who's, when I applied for that first full time job or even that role that I looked up, right? And now when I think back, it was a financial analyst, okay? But when I looked at the job description, the first thing I looked at the job description and I said, oh my gosh, they're asking for a lot of accounting or financial background and all of it, right? So I told Hari, like, I don't even think I should apply for this job because I don't think I'm even going to get it, right? He was the one who said, there's no harm in applying, just apply. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, fine, just apply for something else. I didn't even think like that, right? And I see that in a lot of women because after I started speaking to a lot of other women through my nonprofits and other initiatives and all of it, I realized a lot of women get stuck in that self doubt because they don't want to take that first step. And I was exactly there because I could relate to that. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to apply because I'm not going to get it. But that's when Hari said, no, just apply and let's think about the rest later. Right. And you will not believe Hasti actually applied. I got called for the interview. And you know what? The more interesting part of all of this, I was 7 months pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, forget it. I am not even going to get this job. I mean, I'm going to walk in, they're going to look right at me and they're going to just say, all right, or they could come up with an excuse to just say no. Right? I walked into that interview. There were like five people. It was a panel. It was in a room. There were five men, and I walked in. I can never forget that. And I walked into that room, and of course, my heart was pounding. I was like, oh my God, we're going to see how this is going to go. And I was pretty certain they all looked at my stomach or whatever, but probably, I mean, of course, they would never make a comment about that. Went through the interview, everything happened. And I came back and I said, I think the interview went fine, but I'm pretty sure they looked at me and I'm not going to get this job. I got a call 2 days later, right? And I was, again, spoke to the HR and she said, we're really excited to, offer you this job. Oh my God, you will not believe that because I still can imagine how I felt when I heard that on the call, right? Literally, my heart sank for a moment because I had never expected any of that, right? But again, I go back to that pivotal moment, right? Because I would have never pushed myself. Like, if Harry hadn't said, just take that step, just do it, right? He gave me that confidence, which I did not have. And again, that's how my journey started. So that's when I came into Microsoft, basically full time. And I mean, I came in, and about a month actually, I got a new manager. And I had to tell her that in 2 months I was going to take my maternity leave, right? So I was gone for 5 months. But trust me, Hasti, they knew all of this. The way they gave me a baby shower and a send off, oh my God. It was so heartwarming. Like, I would have never expected that. There was like over 20 gifts. I had to call Harry to come pick up the gifts, from the office to take it to the car. So it was so overwhelming. Like, I felt so good. I felt so wanted. And again, I was going into this completely new motherhood and a journey, right? And what better gift I could have ever asked. And it was so amazing. So for me, that's the moment I can never forget. That's how my journey, I would say, truly started, right? From tech and career and all of it. And yeah, I would say actually in between that, I had decided to leave Microsoft to take a break when I had my second one because I thought I wanted to spend more time, which I really didn't do with the first, all of that. So I decided to take a break and I thought I was taking a break. Then I a call and whatever email from a company where they reached out and they said, "Hey, we have the senior analyst job, right? Do you want to come?" And I told them, well, I was going to take a break because I needed the flexibility and I wanted to manage my daughter and all of this stuff, right? And they said, "We're willing to work with your hours and the timings. So you tell us what you can do." So, I mean, I thought a lot about this. And then I went back and I said, "All right, I will work 7 to 3, right? Because whatever, I want to come home, I want to spend the evening with the kids and do all of this." And so they actually agreed. And so luckily, Harry could do the whole morning shift with the kids because obviously, you know how it is. I mean, just to prep them, drop them, all of it, because I used to leave home by, 6:30, 6:15 in the morning. So, obviously he had to do the morning shift. And so that was the understanding. It worked. And then I would obviously get off work at 3. Then I would go pick up the kids from daycare, all of that. And, I mean, the evening was literally with them, right? And so I really enjoyed that phase, and I'm actually so glad when I look back that I actually got that time to spend with them, as they were growing up at that age. Because as you know, as they grow older, I mean, things they become more independent. There's a big change in all of it. So anyway, so long story short, I worked there for about 4 years. Then obviously my younger one kind of, moved and graduated a bit, right, through her own independence as well. And then I felt like, maybe I was ready to apply and come back to Microsoft. So literally applied to the first job. I got interviewed. I got the job. I came back to Microsoft. And yeah, I mean, in totality, actually, I'm 15 years in Microsoft. That just happened 2 weeks ago. So that's my long story of my career. But that's what happened.
Congratulations. 15 years at Microsoft is no joke. Like, congratulations. It's like it's a pretty heartwarming thing. I see two important people. First, your mother, the confidence that she gave you, the support that she rendered, and then she was an inspiration. She pushed you like from the shell that you were in. Because I think many of us are in that shell, right? Like we don't have that push, like someone believe in you because we don't believe in ourselves. We need that someone to tell us, like, I believe in you. Like, why don't you take that step forward? So you had that passion, you had that motivation, but you needed the push. Your mother was the first push. And the next, I think, is your husband, Hari. Because if not, I don't know how your journey would have been. Like because that because I completely 100% agree because I have seen this personally myself and I've also from my friends and among the people that I've talked to. I don't know if it's just with us women or even men have that we all self-doubt ourselves a lot. Am I even capable of doing this? Can I do this? I have kids, I have this family, I have that. Can I manage everything? Can I do it all? Because we always have that constant doubt. So we need that push from your family. I think push from a family or the support that your family renders. I think it's the most important thing for any women to go do whatever they want to do and succeed and prove. I see that in your family, like you have that support system. I really wish someone who's hearing this be the support to someone, like, give them the push that they need, and so that they can go achieve whatever. It's
In today's artistic journey, we are thrilled to introduce Rehet Kapoor. Rehet Kapoor is a teen entrepreneur and an artist who began her journey at the age of 10. Skilled in hyper realistic drawings with colored pencils, watercolors, and acrylics, she has earned awards including third place in the National Junior Duck Stamp Contest and multiple international recognitions. Beyond art, Rehet is deeply involved in community outreach, supporting causes like Expression Arts, the Sophia Way, Asha for Education, and Empowering. As secretary of her school's National Junior Honor Society, she organized fundraising events to give back. Through her customization business, Recap Creations, she shares unique products and donates 25% of the profits to an orphanage in India, blending creativity with compassion. We wish Rehat Kapoor all the very best.